My best friend refused to cut her vacation short to be by her dying daughter's bedside after a suicide attempt. So I documented every cold, heartless choice she made and made sure the court saw it. Now she's lost custody, and today I caught her lurking outside her daughter's new home in disguise like nothing's changed. My closest friend, Reagan, had always envisioned herself as a mother. It was truly remarkable. From our teenage years, she would constantly discuss the kind of parent she would be and the size of her future family. So, when Lily entered the world, Reagan was absolutely ecstatic, and I shared her joy. I had never witnessed her radiate such happiness. Our daughters, Lily and Emma, grew up as if they were siblings, spending countless weekends and holidays at each other's homes. 15 years later, Reagan inquired if I could look after Lily for a week while she embarked on a solo trip to Bali. This wasn't unusual. Reagan appreciated her personal time, and Lily practically resided at my residence anyway. The initial 2 days proceeded smoothly. Typical teenage activities, endless streaming, unhealthy snacks, all the usual. However, on the third day, circumstances shifted. At dinner, I called Lily from her room, but there was no reply. Emma mentioned she hadn't seen Lily since lunchtime, and an unsettling sensation settled in my stomach. I ascended the stairs, knocked on her door, but received no answer. I attempted to open the door, but it was secured from within. Lily never locked her door. Something felt amiss. I retrieved the spare key from the hallway drawer and unlocked the door, my heart pounding. Lily lay on her bed, barely breathing, surrounded by empty medication containers and a folded note. My vision blurred as I dialed emergency services. Emma stood motionless behind me, weeping, asking what was occurring, but I was speechless. Everything transpired rapidly. The ambulance arrived, and I was responding to paramedics' inquiries while frantically messaging a neighbor to supervise Emma. During the ambulance journey, I contacted Reagan. She was still at the resort. Through choked sobs, I recounted the events, but instead of sounding even slightly concerned, Reagan hesitated, then uttered, "Is it truly that serious?" Perhaps she just sought attention. My stomach churned, and my head reeled in disbelief. At the hospital, the physician explained Lily required a stomach pump. I immediately messaged Reagan, certain that now she would grasp the gravity of the situation. But Reagan's subsequent message utterly stunned me. Changing flights costs $200, it's expensive. Besides, you don't need to visit the hospital daily. That's literally what nurses are for. I stared at my phone, my anger simmering. I longed to scream, but I understood Lily needed me more than Reagan's theatrics at that moment. I took time off work, utilized my vacation days, and spent 3 consecutive nights in the hospital chair beside Lily's bed. One evening, she confided that she believed Reagan no longer loved her. She questioned why her mother wasn't returning for her. I was unsure how to respond. I simply embraced her, feeling a surge of fury within me. Throughout this ordeal, I sent Reagan continuous updates, photographs, and messages, but each reply I received was shorter, colder. Meanwhile, she posted beach selfies with the caption, "Living my best life." It then dawned on me that the Reagan I knew, the devoted mother she always claimed to be, had entirely disappeared. When Lily was discharged, I prepared a safe, comforting room for her at my residence. I attempted countless times to discuss the situation with Reagan, but she dismissed it every single time. Reagan finally appeared at my house a full day after her arrival, deeply tanned and relaxed. She offered Lily an awkward, brief embrace, then immediately inquired about the luggage she had left before her trip. As I outlined Lily's recovery plan, Reagan's eyes darkened, her jaw tightening with each word. Suddenly, Reagan exploded. She rose, accusing me of parenting her child behind her back. Her voice escalated, and she began shouting about me overstepping boundaries and exaggerating matters. It was probably just for attention, she spat. That's when I heard a stifled sob from the hallway. Lily stood motionless, tears streaming down her cheeks. Reagan barely glanced at her daughter. My heart pounded. "Are you serious?" I yelled. I shouted at Reagan that she chose the beach over her struggling daughter, but Reagan merely scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Teens are dramatic. You should have known better." That was it. I snapped and unleashed everything. I informed her she was self-centered, that she had consistently prioritized herself, that Lily's life was seemingly only worth $200 to her. Reagan's voice dropped, venomous and cold. "You don't understand what it's like needing a break from your children." At that precise moment, something between us irrevocably fractured. I witnessed Reagan's true nature, and I instantly knew our friendship was beyond repair. Reagan seized Lily's bag and demanded she depart, but Lily barricaded herself in my bathroom, sobbing uncontrollably, refusing to leave. That's when Reagan lost control. She began shouting, accusing me of abducting her daughter, and before I realized it, her phone was out, and she was contacting the police. The sirens arrived within minutes, their red and blue lights illuminating my living room walls in alternating flashes. I stood at the window, observing 2 officers emerge from their patrol vehicle while Reagan paced behind me, her phone still clutched in her hand. "They're here," she announced, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "Now we'll see who's truly in the wrong." I opened the door before they could knock. The officers, a younger woman with dark hair tied back and an older man with graying temples, introduced themselves as Officers Chun and Martinez. Reagan pushed past me, immediately launching into her narrative. "This woman is detaining my daughter against her will," Reagan declared, gesturing wildly. "My daughter Lily is only 15, and she's refusing to let her come home with me. I have custody. This is kidnapping." Officer Chun produced a notepad while Officer Martinez observed us both. I compelled myself to remain composed, even as my hands trembled. "Ma'am, can you explain the situation from your perspective?" Officer Chun asked me. I inhaled deeply and began from the start. I recounted watching Lily for the week, discovering her after the incident, the hospital stay, and Reagan's absence. But Reagan continually interrupted, distorting every detail. "She's exaggerating," Reagan interjected. "Teenagers do these things for attention. I had a pre-planned vacation that I couldn't cancel. She's making it sound worse than it was." The officers exchanged glances. Officer Martinez moved towards the hallway where Lily had locked herself in the bathroom. He knocked gently. "Lily, this is Officer Martinez. Can you come out and speak with us?" There was a prolonged silence before we heard the lock disengage. Lily emerged, her face red and swollen from crying. She avoided eye contact with any of us, simply staring at the floor. "Lily, your mother states you need to return home," Officer Chin said gently. "Is there a reason you don't wish to go?" Lily's shoulders trembled. She opened her mouth and then closed it again. Reagan stepped forward. "She's been manipulated," Reagan stated quickly. "This woman has been filling her head with falsehoods about me being a poor mother. Of course, she's confused." I watched Lily retreat further into herself. The officers appeared uncomfortable, clearly uncertain how to manage the situation. Without concrete evidence of abuse or immediate danger, they seemed inclined to side with the parent. "Lily, I apologize, but legally we must return you to your mother's custody," Officer Martinez stated. "If there are issues at home, there are proper channels to address them." Lily's head snapped up, panic flooding her features. She looked at me desperately, but what could I do? Reagan was her legal guardian. The system was operating precisely as Reagan knew it would. Reagan grabbed Lily's bag from where it rested by the door. "Come on, Lily, we're going home." Lily moved as if traversing quicksand. At the doorway, she turned back to gaze at me one final time. The profound despair in her eyes caused my chest to ache. "I'll check on you," I called out, but Reagan's sharp laugh sliced through the air. "I don't think so," she said. "You've caused enough harm. Stay away from my daughter." The officers escorted them out, ensuring the transfer proceeded smoothly. I stood in my doorway, watching Reagan usher Lily to her car. Lily climbed into the passenger seat, her movements mechanical. Reagan slammed the door with unnecessary force. As they drove away, Officer Chin lingered on my porch. "If you have concerns about the child's well-being, you can contact Child Protective Services," she said quietly. "Document everything." I nodded numbly. The house felt eerily quiet without Lily's presence. Emma appeared at my side, having observed everything from the staircase. "Mom, is Lily going to be all right?" she asked, her voice small. I pulled her into an embrace, wishing I had an answer. The following morning, my phone vibrated with messages from mutual acquaintances. Reagan had already initiated her campaign. The texts ranged from bewildered to accusatory. "Reagan says you attempted to abduct her daughter. What's this about you refusing to let Lily go home? I can't believe you would overstep like that." I stared at my phone in disbelief. Reagan had distorted the entire narrative, portraying herself as the victim and me as some obsessed woman trying to steal her child. I attempted to call a few friends to explain, but they had already heard Reagan's version first. Some listened politely, but remained skeptical. Others didn't respond at all. At work, I struggled to concentrate. Each time my phone vibrated, I hoped it might be Lily, but it was always another friend questioning my actions or severing ties entirely. Reagan had been thorough, reaching out to everyone in our social circle. 3 days later, Emma returned home from school looking distraught. She dropped her backpack by the door and sank onto the couch. "What's wrong?" I asked, sitting beside her. Emma bit her lip. "Lily's mom was at school today." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean she was at school?" "She was waiting by my locker after last period. She said I need to stay away from Lily, that you're a bad influence, and you're trying to break up their family." Emma's voice cracked. "She said if I try to talk to Lily, she'll make sure we both get into trouble." Rage surged within me. Reagan was now targeting my daughter, attempting to isolate Lily even from her closest friend. I grabbed my phone to call the school, but Emma stopped me. "Mom, please, it'll only worsen things." Lily hadn't even attended school that day or the previous one. That night, I tried calling Lily's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I sent message after message, but they all indicated as undelivered. Reagan had clearly confiscated her phone or blocked my number. I drove past Reagan's house twice that week, hoping to catch a glimpse of Lily, but the curtains were always drawn. Her car was in the driveway, so I knew they were home, but the house appeared lifeless. Desperate, I recalled Reagan's mother resided across town. Perhaps she could assist. I had always maintained a good relationship with Mrs. Patterson, and surely she would be concerned about her granddaughter. I called her on a Thursday evening. She answered on the third ring, her voice warm and familiar. Mrs. Patterson, it's me. I need to speak with you about Lily. The warmth vanished instantly. I've already been informed about your conduct, she said coldly. Reagan told me everything. How you tried to turn Lily against her own mother. How you exaggerated a plea for attention into something serious. That's not what happened, I protested. Lily was in the hospital for 3 days. She could have died. Reagan had asserted, you're obsessed with her family, that you've always been envious of her having a daughter first. Mrs. Patterson's voice hardened. I believe it's best if you leave my family alone. The line went dead. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling utterly powerless. Reagan had poisoned everyone against me, even her own mother. 2 weeks elapsed with no communication from Lily. Emma grew quieter, constantly checking her phone, hoping her friend might find a way to reach out. I had begun documenting everything, maintaining a folder of screenshots, text messages, and a detailed chronological record of events. But what good would it do if I couldn't even check on Lily? Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, Emma burst through the door after school, clutching a folded piece of paper. Mom. She was breathless, her eyes wide. I found this in my locker. She handed me the paper. It was written in Lily's handwriting, messy and clearly done in haste. Emma, please give this to your mom. I need help. My mom took my phone and won't let me leave the house. She keeps saying I embarrassed her and ruined her vacation. She won't talk to me except to yell. I don't know what to do. Please help me. Don't let her know you have this. L. My hands trembled as I read it. Emma was already retrieving her phone. We have to help her, Emma urged. Maybe we can wait, I suggested, thinking quickly. We need to be clever about this. If Reagan discovers we're communicating with Lily, she'll make things even worse. I made copies of the note, adding it to my documentation. Then I had Emma compose a reply, keeping it simple and secure. We would find a way to help. She should remain strong, and if there was an emergency, she should dial 911. Emma slipped the note into Lily's locker the next morning. For 3 days, nothing occurred. Then another note appeared. This one was longer, more desperate. Lily described how Reagan had become increasingly hostile, alternating between completely ignoring her and launching into angry outbursts about how Lily had ruined her life. She wasn't eating properly, wasn't sleeping. She felt like a captive in her own home. I knew we had to act, but cautiously. I contacted a family lawyer for counsel, presenting him with my documentation. He suggested reaching out to Child Protective Services, but cautioned that without physical abuse, it might not yield results. Emma continued exchanging notes back and forth. Through them, we learned Reagan had told Lily that I had abandoned her, that I no longer wanted her around. The psychological manipulation was heartbreaking. Then Reagan discovered the notes. Emma came home from school on a Friday, pale as a ghost. She knows, she whispered. Reagan knows about the notes. My phone rang almost immediately, Reagan's number. I answered, steeling myself. You just can't stop, can you? Reagan's voice was low and menacing. I told you to stay away from my daughter. Reagan, I'm just trying to ensure she's all right. I'm filing a restraining order, she interrupted, against you and your daughter. This is harassment. If either of you contact Lily again, I'll have you arrested. You can't do that. We haven't done anything wrong. Watch me. The venom in her voice sent shivers down my spine. I've already spoken to my lawyer. Stay away from my family, or you'll regret it. She hung up. Within days, I was served with legal papers. Reagan had filed for a restraining order, alleging I was stalking and harassing her family. The accusations were wild, portraying me as unhinged and obsessive. She had distorted every interaction, every attempt to assist Lily, into something sinister. My lawyer stated we could contest it, but it would require time and financial resources. Meanwhile, Lily remained trapped. That's when I recalled something Reagan had mentioned years ago. She had a sister, Catherine, with whom she had severed ties. Reagan had always been vague about the reason, simply stating they had a disagreement. But perhaps Catherine would be willing to help. It took some investigation, but I located her on social media. Catherine resided 2 hours away. Her profile displayed a woman who bore a striking resemblance to Reagan, but with kinder eyes. I sent her a message, not expecting much. To my surprise, she responded within hours. I've been wondering when someone would finally see through Reagan's facade. Her message read, "Can we talk?" We conversed on the phone that night. Catherine's narrative was eerily familiar. Reagan had always been manipulative, even as a child. Catherine had distanced herself after Reagan had spread falsehoods about her to their family, nearly destroying Catherine's relationship with their parents. I tried to caution people, Catherine stated, but Reagan has always been adept at playing the victim. When I learned she had a daughter, my heart ached for that little girl. I recounted everything to her. Unlike everyone else, Catherine believed me immediately. She had witnessed Reagan's patterns before. There's a family reunion next month, Catherine mentioned. Reagan will be there. She can't resist flaunting herself to the family. If we time this correctly, we can expose her in front of everyone. It was perilous, but it might be our sole opportunity. Catherine and I spent weeks preparing. I organized all my documentation, the hospital records, the text messages revealing Reagan's indifference, Lily's notes. Catherine contacted other family members Reagan had wronged over the years, gradually building a network of support. The reunion took place at their aunt's house on a Saturday afternoon. Catherine had persuaded me to attend as her guest. When we arrived, Reagan was already there, holding court in the living room, laughing and conversing as if she hadn't a worry in the world. She noticed me first. Her face turned pale, then flushed with fury. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, rising. "I invited her," Catherine stated calmly, stepping beside me. "It's time everyone knew the truth about you, Reagan." "You have no right," Reagan began, but Catherine cut her off. "No, you have no right. You've heard enough, people." Catherine turned to the room filled with relatives. "Everyone needs to hear what Reagan has been doing to her daughter." I produced my folder, my hands steady despite my pounding heart, as I began to speak, presenting the evidence. The room fell silent. Reagan attempted to interrupt, to spin her version, but the documentation spoke for itself. "These are lies," Reagan shouted. "She's obsessed with my family. She tried to steal my daughter." "Then explain this," I said, displaying the text where she had stated changing flights was too expensive, or this, showing where she had referred to nurses as babysitters, or this, Lily's desperate note. The room erupted. Family members who had been silent began speaking up, sharing their own experiences with Reagan's deceit and manipulation. Her aunt mentioned missing money. A cousin spoke of rumors Reagan had spread about her. Reagan's facade finally crumbled completely. "You're all jealous," she screamed. "You've always been jealous of me and you." She pointed at me. "You wanted to steal Lily because you could never be the mother I am." "What kind of mother abandons her daughter in a hospital to remain on vacation?" Catherine asked quietly. "She wasn't dying," Reagan shrieked. "She was being dramatic. She's always been dramatic, seeking attention, ruining everything. Do you know how difficult it is having a daughter who won't just be grateful, who makes everything about her pain and her problems? I needed that vacation. I deserved it after enduring her for 15 years. The room became utterly silent. Reagan seemed to realize what she had just uttered, her face drained of color. "Did you just say?" Their grandmother spoke for the first time, her voice trembling with disgust. "That you resented your daughter for attempting suicide?" Reagan tried to retract her words, but the damage was done. She had finally revealed her true self to everyone. The grandmother's words hung in the air like a tangible presence. Reagan's mouth opened and closed, but no sound emerged. For the first time since I had known her, she had no quick retort, no smooth deflection. "I didn't mean it like that," Reagan finally managed, her voice cracking. "You're twisting my words." "I was stressed, exhausted from dealing with your suicidal daughter," Catherine finished for her. "The daughter you left in a hospital bed while you posted beach selfies." Reagan's eyes darted around the room, searching for an ally, but found only disgusted expressions. Her uncle rose from his armchair, his weathered face stern. "Reagan, I believe you need to leave," he said quietly. "And I think you need to seriously reconsider how you're treating that child. You can't expel me." Reagan's voice rose to a shriek. "This is my family. You're all taking the word of this outsider over mine. We're taking the word of evidence." Her cousin Sarah spoke up. "Those texts, Reagan, your own words." Reagan whirled on me, her face contorted with fury. "This is all your fault. You've poisoned them against me, just like you poisoned Lily." Before I could respond, Reagan lunged forward. Catherine stepped between us, but Reagan shoved past her, grabbing for my folder of documentation. Papers scattered across the floor as we struggled. Someone screamed. Hands pulled Reagan back, her uncle and two cousins restraining her as she thrashed. "Let me go," Reagan shrieked. "That's my private information. She has no right." "Reagan, stop," Catherine commanded. "You're only making this worse." Reagan suddenly went limp, then began sobbing, but even through my shock, I could discern the calculation in her eyes. She was already planning her next move. "Fine," she said, shrugging off the hands holding her. "You want to believe her lies? Fine. But Lily is my daughter, mine, and none of you have any say in how I raise her." She stormed out, slamming the door so forcefully that a picture fell off the wall. The room remained silent for several moments before Reagan's grandmother slowly bent to assist me in gathering the scattered papers. "I'm sorry you had to endure this," she said softly. "We should have recognized it sooner. What matters now is helping Lily," Catherine stated. "Reagan is going to retaliate. We need to be prepared." She was correct. By the time I reached home that evening, my phone was inundated with messages. Reagan had gone ballistic on social media, posting a distorted version of events where her entire family had ambushed her, where I had manipulated them all. She tagged mutual friends, former coworkers, even individuals from our children's school. Emma met me at the door, her face pale. "Mom, it's all over Instagram. Everyone's discussing it." I looked at her phone, my heart sinking. Reagan had posted photographs from happier times. Her and Lily smiling at birthday parties, family vacations, school events. The captions portrayed her as a devoted mother being torn from her child by envious relatives and a vindictive friend. The comments, Emma said quietly. "Look at the comments." People who were unaware of the full story were rallying to Reagan's defense, calling me terrible names, suggesting I should be arrested for harassment. Some even implied I was the reason Lily had attempted suicide, that I had filled her head with negativity about her mother. My phone rang. "Catherine, Have you seen what she's doing? Catherine asked without preamble. I'm looking at it now. She's already contacted my workplace, informed them I'm unstable, that I attacked her at a family gathering. My boss wants to see me Monday morning. Catherine's voice was tight with controlled anger. This is what she does. She destroys anyone who challenges her. That night, I barely slept. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw Lily's desperate face as Reagan dragged her away. Where was she now? Was she safe? The next morning brought fresh torment. A process server knocked on my door, delivering papers. Reagan wasn't merely filing a restraining order anymore. She was suing me for defamation, emotional distress, and interference with parental rights. The monetary sum made my head spin. My lawyer reviewed the documents that afternoon, his expression grim. She's throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. Most of this won't stand up in court, but defending against it will be costly and time-consuming. I don't care about the money, I stated. I care about Lily. I understand, but Reagan knows that. She's attempting to deplete your resources, to make you surrender. Emma had been quiet all weekend, but Monday morning, she approached me with determination in her eyes. I want to go to the school counselor, she said. Tell them about Lily. Maybe they can do something. Emma, darling, Reagan might come after you too. I don't care. Her voice was fierce. Lily is my best friend. I can't just do nothing. I drove her to school, proud and terrified in equal measure. But when we arrived, the principal was waiting in the parking lot. I need to speak with you, she said, her expression carefully neutral. There's been a complaint. Reagan had preempted us. She had called the school, claiming I was encouraging Emma to spread falsehoods about her family, that I was using my daughter to harass hers. The principal couldn't prohibit me from school property, but she strongly advised I abstain from any involvement in school matters concerning Lily. Emma went to class, but messaged me at lunch. The counselor had stated her hands were tied without direct evidence of abuse. Lily hadn't attended school in over a week, but Reagan had provided doctor's notes claiming she was unwell. That afternoon, I sat in my car outside the school, feeling helpless. Then I noticed a familiar vehicle in the parking lot, Reagan's. She was here, likely fabricating more lies, tightening her web of control. I was about to depart when I saw her exit the building, but she wasn't alone. A man walked beside her, tall, well-dressed, carrying a briefcase. They paused by her car, conversing intently. Reagan gestured animatedly, occasionally dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. I took photographs with my phone, zooming in as much as possible. The man handed Reagan some papers, which she signed. They shook hands, and he departed in a separate car. Later, Catherine helped me identify him through careful social media research. He was a prominent family lawyer known for aggressive custody disputes and restraining orders. Reagan was escalating. The next few days blurred together. Reagan's social media campaign persisted. She posted old videos of Lily as a happy child with captions about how she was fighting to rescue her daughter from toxic influences. Support poured in from people who only knew her version of events. Meanwhile, my lawyer was costing me a fortune. My boss, initially understanding about my time off, was growing impatient, and worst of all, there was still no news from Lily. Then Emma made a discovery. Mom, she burst into my room one evening. I found Lily's old Instagram account, the one she used for art. She showed me the screen. The account had been inactive for months, but suddenly there was a new post, a simple black square with white text. I'm not okay. The post had been visible for less than an hour. As we watched, it vanished. She's trying to reach out, Emma said. Reagan must have found it and deleted it. We screenshotted everything, adding it to our growing collection of evidence, but it felt like attempting to construct a house of cards in a hurricane. Every move we made, Reagan countered with 2 of her own. Catherine called with distressing news. 3 more family members have received threatening letters from Reagan's lawyer. She's claiming the entire family conspired against her at the reunion. My aunt is terrified. She's 72 years old, and now she's being threatened with a lawsuit. This is insane, I exclaimed. How can she get away with this? Because she knows most people will back down rather than engage in legal battles. They are expensive and exhausting. She's counting on wearing us all down. But backing down meant abandoning Lily. That wasn't an option. I decided to attempt a different approach. If Reagan was monitoring all of Lily's online activities, perhaps we could communicate another way. I remembered Lily mentioning a friend from art class, Mia, whom Reagan didn't know well. Emma reached out to Mia, carefully explaining the situation. Mia was horrified but eager to assist. She agreed to try to pass a message to Lily if she saw her. Days passed with no word. Then, on a Thursday afternoon, Mia texted Emma. She had seen Lily at the grocery store with Reagan. Lily appeared thin, exhausted, and avoided eye contact. When Reagan moved to another aisle, Mia quickly approached Lily. She started crying, Mia reported. She said her mom checks everything, her phone, her computer, even her school assignments. She's not allowed to leave the house except for errands with her mom. She wanted me to tell you she's trying to hold on. The message was heartbreaking, but also galvanizing. Lily was still fighting. We had to keep fighting too. That weekend, Catherine uncovered something intriguing while researching Reagan's past. She found court records from another state, 15 years ago, before Lily was born. Reagan had been involved in a similar situation with a former roommate. Accusations of harassment, restraining orders, lawsuits. The pattern was identical. She's done this before, Catherine stated. The roommate eventually relinquished everything and relocated, but I tracked her down. She's willing to speak. The former roommate, Jessica, recounted a chilling story over a video call. Reagan had initially seemed flawless, charming, enjoyable, generous. But when Jessica began dating someone Reagan disapproved of, everything changed. The manipulation, the falsehoods, the legal threats. It all sounded horrifyingly familiar. I spent thousands in legal fees, Jessica stated. Lost friends who believed her stories. In the end, I just fled, started over in a new city. I always wondered if I should have fought harder, but I was young and scared. Would you be willing to provide a statement for our case? I asked. Jessica hesitated, then nodded. I've regretted running for years. Perhaps this is my chance to rectify it. We were gradually building a case, but Reagan wasn't idle. The following Monday, Emma returned home from school in tears. Someone had spray-painted liar on her locker. Security footage conveniently showed nothing. That camera had mysteriously malfunctioned over the weekend. Then my car tires were slashed while I was at the grocery store. No witnesses, no cameras covering that section of the parking lot. She's trying to intimidate us, my lawyer stated. But without proof it's connected to her. Catherine faced her own harassment. Someone called her workplace repeatedly, making complaints. Dead flowers were left on her doorstep. Her social media was flooded with hateful messages from fake accounts. But the worst occurred when Child Protective Services appeared at my door. We received a complaint, the social worker explained, allegations that you're emotionally abusing your daughter, forcing her to participate in harassing another family. I felt the blood drain from my face. Reagan was now attempting to reverse the roles, to make me appear as the unfit parent. The social worker interviewed Emma privately while I waited, my hands trembling. When they emerged, Emma's eyes were red, but her chin was raised defiantly. Your daughter is very articulate, the social worker stated, and very clear about what's been happening. We'll need to follow up, but I don't see any immediate concerns. After she departed, Emma embraced me tightly. I told her everything, Mom. About Lily, about Reagan, everything. You did wonderfully, honey. I'm so proud of you. But Reagan's assault had shaken me. She was willing to weaponize the very systems designed to protect children. How far would she go? The answer arrived 2 days later. I was leaving work when I noticed a car trailing me. It maintained several car lengths back, but mirrored every turn I made. My heart raced. I drove to the police station instead of home. The car vanished. When I arrived home, Emma was already there with Catherine. Their faces were grim. Lily's in the hospital, Catherine stated. Reagan posted about it, claims Lily had another attention-seeking episode, and blames us for triggering it. I sank into a chair, my legs suddenly unable to support me. Is she alright? We don't know. Reagan's posting just enough to garner sympathy, but not enough for anyone to know what truly happened. We tried calling the hospital, but privacy laws meant they couldn't disclose any information. Reagan had likely ensured we weren't on any authorized contact lists. We have to do something, Emma said desperately. We can't just let her keep Lily isolated like this. Catherine's phone vibrated. She looked at it, her eyes widening. It's my cousin at the hospital. She works in administration. She can't provide details, but she says we should come now. We sped to the hospital, my mind swirling with worst-case scenarios. What had occurred? Was Lily okay? At the hospital, Catherine's cousin met us in the lobby. She couldn't violate HIPAA laws, but she could inform us that Lily had been admitted for a mental health evaluation and that Reagan was currently meeting with doctors. We waited in the lobby, unwilling to leave. Hours passed. Then, unexpectedly, a doctor approached us. Are you Lily's family? He inquired. I'm her aunt, Catherine said quickly. This is a close family friend. The doctor appeared troubled. I shouldn't be speaking to you, but that young lady specifically requested it. She's quite insistent that her mother is fabricating what happened. My heart leaped. Is she physically okay? Yes, but she's made some serious allegations about her home situation. We're required to investigate, but her mother is resistant to our concerns. Before he could say more, Reagan appeared around the corner, her face contorted with rage. When she saw us, she shrieked, "Get away from my daughter." Security. Ma'am, please calm down, the doctor said. Your daughter has specifically asked. My daughter is mentally ill. Reagan shrieked. These people have driven her to this. They're the reason she's here. Security arrived, looking uncertain. Reagan was Lily's legal guardian, and we had no official right to be there. As we were escorted out, I heard the doctor quietly tell Reagan, "We'll need to involve social services. Your daughter's allegations are serious." Reagan's response was venomous. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer. How dare you believe a disturbed teenager over her mother?" In the parking lot, we regrouped. This was a pivotal moment. Lily had spoken up to medical professionals. There would be an official record now. Reagan's going to unleash hell, Catherine predicted. We need to be prepared. She was right. Within hours, Reagan had posted a rambling social media manifesto about the hospital attempting to abduct her daughter, about conspiracies against her, about how everyone was envious of their bond. She announced she was removing Lily from the hospital against medical advice. My lawyer called within minutes. This is actually beneficial for us. She's demonstrating instability. Keep documenting everything. But I wasn't contemplating legal strategies. I was thinking about Lily, trapped with an increasingly unstable Reagan. That night, unable to sleep, I drove past Reagan's house. The lights were on, and I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. Was Lily okay? Was she safe? As I sat there, my phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. She's taking me away. I don't know where. Please don't stop fighting for me. L. My blood ran cold. I immediately forwarded the message to my lawyer and Catherine. If Reagan was planning to flee with Lily, I called the police, but they stated that without evidence of immediate danger, there was nothing they could do. Reagan had custody. She could travel with her daughter. The next morning, Reagan's house was empty. Her car was gone. Neighbors reported seeing her loading suitcases in the middle of the night. She's running, Catherine said. She knows the walls are closing in. We mobilized swiftly. Catherine contacted every family member, asking them to watch for Reagan. I informed the school of the situation. My lawyer initiated emergency proceedings for a welfare check. Emma was distraught. What if we never find them? What if Reagan harms her? We'll find them, I promised, praying I was right. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. The grocery store clerk who had seen Lily with Reagan called Emma's friend Mia. She had overheard Reagan on the phone booking a rental cabin 2 hours north. It wasn't much, but it was a lead. Catherine and I decided to drive up just to confirm their presence. We would be careful not to violate any restraining orders, simply verify their location for authorities. The cabin was secluded, surrounded by woods. Reagan's car was parked outside. We kept our distance, observing from afar. When we saw movement in the window, Lily looking out, our eyes met across the distance. She pressed her palm against the glass, and I saw her mouth the word help. Then Reagan appeared, yanking her away from the window. The curtain snapped shut. We have to call the police, Catherine urged. Now. But as I reached for my phone, Reagan's front door flew open. She stood there, wild-eyed, something glinting in her hand. I knew you'd come, she screamed. I knew you couldn't leave us alone. She started towards us, and we scrambled back to our car. As we drove away, I dialed emergency services, reporting the situation, Reagan's erratic behavior, and our concerns for Lily's safety. Units are en route, the dispatcher assured me. We waited at a safe distance until we saw the police cars arrive. 2 officers approached the cabin while we watched, hearts pounding. Reagan must have seen them coming. She emerged with Lily, gripping her daughter's arm tightly. Even from a distance, we could discern her animated gestures, no doubt fabricating another story. But then Lily did something courageous. She pulled away from Reagan and ran to the officers, gesturing frantically. Reagan tried to grab her, but one officer stepped between them. The conversation continued for what felt like hours. More police arrived, then an ambulance. Finally, one officer approached our car. The young lady has made some serious allegations. We're taking her for a medical evaluation and getting CPS emergency involved. The mother is not handling it well. We watched as Reagan was placed in a separate police car, still screaming about abduction and conspiracies. Lily was helped into the ambulance, a female officer remaining with her. Can we see her? I inquired. Not yet, but she asked me to tell you she's okay, that she's ready to tell the truth about everything. As the emergency vehicles departed, Catherine and I sat in stunned silence. It wasn't over. There would be investigations, court battles, more of Reagan's manipulations to face. But for the first time in weeks, Lily was safe from her mother's immediate control. My phone rang. Emma, desperate for news. She's safe? I told her. Lily's safe. Emma's sob of relief echoed my own feelings. We had persevered through Reagan's deceit, manipulation, and intimidation. We had faced lawsuits, harassment, and social destruction. But we had never ceased fighting for Lily. The conflict wasn't over. Reagan would regroup, devise new strategies, new ways to portray herself as the victim. But now Lily had found her voice, and with the truth finally being heard, Reagan's meticulously constructed facade was crumbling. As we drove home, I reflected on that teenage Reagan who had dreamed of being a mother. Somewhere along the way, that dream had warped into something toxic, possessive, destructive. But her daughter, brave, resilient Lily, had survived it, and we would ensure she would never have to face it alone again. The drive back from the cabin felt surreal. Catherine kept checking her rearview mirror, half expecting Reagan to somehow materialize behind us. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating, texts from Emma, my lawyer, even some of the family members from the reunion. We pulled into a gas station to collect ourselves. Catherine refueled while I returned my lawyer's call. The police contacted me. He stated immediately, Reagan's in custody for now, but that won't last. She'll make bail within hours. We need to move quickly on emergency custody proceedings for Lily. What are our chances? It's better now that Lily has spoken to authorities, but Reagan will fight this with everything she possesses. Catherine returned to the car, her face grim. My cousin at the hospital just texted. They're admitting Lily for a 72-hour psychiatric hold, standard procedure given the circumstances. We drove directly to the hospital. The same doctor from before met us in the lobby, looking relieved to see us. She's asking for you both, he said. We can't discuss details, but I can tell you she's been very clear about her experiences. CPS is already involved. A social worker appeared, a different one from the woman who had visited my house. She introduced herself as Miss Rodriguez and inquired if we could speak privately. Lily has disclosed some concerning information, she said carefully. We're opening an investigation. In the meantime, we need to establish a safety plan for when she's discharged. She can stay with me, I stated immediately. Ms. Rodriguez shook her head. Given the restraining order Reagan filed, that's complicated. We're considering emergency foster placement unless a blood relative can take her. Catherine leaned forward. I'm her aunt. I'll take her. The social worker made notes. We'll need to conduct a home study, background checks. It's a process, but given the circumstances, we can expedite it. My phone rang. Emma, frantic. Mom, Reagan's out. She just posted on Instagram. She's saying you and Catherine kidnapped Lily and brainwashed the police. I showed Catherine the post. Reagan had somehow managed to take a selfie at the police station, looking haggard but defiant. The caption was a rambling accusation about corruption, conspiracy, and jealous relatives attempting to abduct her child. She's spiraling, Catherine observed. This is good for our case. But I worried about what Reagan might do in her desperation. She had already proven she would cross any boundary. We weren't permitted to see Lily that day. Too many protocols, too much paperwork. But the nurse assured us she was stable and had eaten dinner. Small victories. The next morning brought pandemonium. Reagan had engaged a new lawyer, not the family attorney from before, but someone renowned for taking controversial cases. He had already filed motions to have Lily immediately returned to Reagan's custody, alleging kidnapping and conspiracy. My lawyer called an emergency meeting. She's also filed criminal charges against you and Catherine. False imprisonment, conspiracy to kidnap, intentional infliction of emotional distress. It's all baseless, but we need to respond. Catherine slammed her hand on the table. She can't keep getting away with this. She's not, the lawyer stated. Every move she makes is being documented. The judge will discern the pattern. That afternoon, Jessica, Reagan's former roommate, flew in from Colorado. She decided to testify in person about Reagan's past behavior. We met at a coffee shop near the courthouse. I've been carrying guilt for 15 years, Jessica stated. I knew she would do this to someone else. I should have fought harder, warned people. You were young and scared, I said. What matters is you're here now. Jessica pulled out a thick folder. I kept everything. Every threatening letter, every legal document, even recordings of her voicemails. My therapist said it might help me process someday. I suppose today's that day. Catherine's phone vibrated. A text from her cousin at the hospital. Reagan had appeared, demanding to see Lily. Security had to escort her out when she became belligerent. She's getting more desperate, Catherine noted. The emergency custody hearing was scheduled for the following morning. That night, I couldn't sleep. Emma stayed awake with me, both of us anxious about what would transpire. What if the judge believes Reagan? Emma asked. We have truth on our side, I said, attempting to sound more confident than I felt. The courthouse was packed. Reagan had mobilized her remaining supporters, a handful of individuals who still believed her version of events. But our side was larger. Catherine's family had arrived in force. Several of Lily's teachers were present. Even Mia and her mother had come to support us. Reagan entered as if on a red carpet, impeccably dressed, her new lawyer by her side. She made eye contact with me and smiled coldly. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes, called the hearing to order. Reagan's lawyer presented first, painting a picture of a devoted mother whose mentally unwell daughter had been manipulated by envious relatives and a possessive family friend. Then our lawyer presented our case, the documentation, the text messages, Jessica's testimony about Reagan's past, the hospital records, Lily's own statements to the authorities. Reagan couldn't control herself. She kept interrupting despite her lawyer's attempts to silence her. When the judge warned her about contempt, Reagan stood up. This is my daughter, she shouted. These people have poisoned her against me. They've always been jealous of our bond. The judge's gavel came down hard. Ms. Reagan, you will control yourself or be removed from this courtroom. But Reagan was beyond control. She pointed at me, her face twisted with rage. She wanted my life. She wanted my daughter. She planned this from the beginning. Security moved towards her. Reagan's lawyer tried to intervene, but she shoved him aside. Lily is mine, she screamed. I gave birth to her. I own her. She doesn't get to choose. The judge ordered Reagan removed. As security escorted her out, she was still screaming about ownership and betrayal. Her lawyer looked defeated. The judge called a recess. When we reconvened, Reagan's chair was empty. Her lawyer made a weak attempt to continue, but the damage was done. I've reviewed all the evidence, the judge stated, and witnessed Ms. Reagan's behavior firsthand. I'm granting emergency temporary custody to Catherine Patterson, pending a full investigation by Child Protective Services. Relief flooded through me. Catherine gripped my hand, squeezing tightly. Behind us, I heard Emma let out a sob of relief. But the judge wasn't finished. I'm also lifting the restraining order against you, she said, looking at me. It's clear it was filed in bad faith. However, I want to make it clear, Lily's well-being comes first. Any decisions about her living situation will be made by CPS and her appointed guardian. We left the courthouse in a daze. Reagan was nowhere to be seen, but her car was still in the parking lot. Her lawyer was on his phone, looking frustrated. Catherine drove us to the hospital. With the custody order in hand, we were finally permitted to see Lily. She was sitting up in bed, sketching in a notebook. When she saw us, she dropped everything and ran into Catherine's arms. "Is it over?" she asked, her voice muffled against Catherine's shoulder. "The hearing's over," Catherine said carefully. "You're coming home with me when the doctors say you're ready." Lily pulled back, looking at me. "What about my mom?" I chose my words carefully. "She's going to get help. Right now, we're focused on ensuring you're safe and healthy." Lily nodded slowly. "She showed up yesterday, told the nurses I was lying about everything. When they wouldn't let her see me, she started screaming about lawsuits." She paused. "It was actually kind of a relief. They all saw what she's truly like." We spent an hour with Lily, carefully avoiding sensitive topics. She showed us her drawings, abstract pieces that seemed to capture her emotional journey. Emma would be allowed to visit tomorrow, which brightened Lily's spirits considerably. As we left, Ms. Rodriguez intercepted us. "Reagan has been making threats," she said quietly. "Nothing specific enough for an arrest, but concerning. We're recommending a security plan for when Lily is discharged." That night, Reagan's social media went dark, all her accounts vanished. It should have been reassuring, but it made me uneasy. Reagan didn't retreat. She regrouped. The next day, while Emma visited Lily at the hospital, I helped Catherine prepare her house. We set up a guest room, purchased groceries, and tried to make everything as welcoming as possible. Catherine's phone rang, her elderly aunt, voice trembling. "Reagan just left here. She was asking for money, saying she needed it for a new lawyer. When I refused, she became nasty, accused me of betraying her. We immediately contacted the lawyer. He advised documenting everything and varying our routines. Reagan was becoming unpredictable. That evening, my phone rang from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "You think you've won?" Reagan's voice was different, flat, emotionless. "But this isn't over. I know judges. I know lawyers. I'll get her back." "Reagan, you need help." "I need my daughter, and I'll do whatever it takes." The line went dead. I reported the call immediately. The police took a report but stated that without a direct threat, their hands were tied. Lily was discharged the next morning. Catherine and I picked her up together, both of us scanning the parking lot nervously, but there was no sign of Reagan. Lily was quiet on the drive to Catherine's house. When we arrived, she stood in the driveway for a moment, simply breathing. "It feels different," she said softly. "Safer." The first few days were an adjustment. Lily flinched at every car door slam, checked locks obsessively. Catherine was patient, giving her space while ensuring she felt supported. Emma visited daily after school. Watching them together, doing homework, laughing at videos, just being teenagers, reminded me what we were fighting for. Then Reagan resurfaced again. Catherine's neighbor called. Someone had been sitting in a car outside the house for hours. By the time police arrived, the car was gone, but the neighbor had taken photos. It was Reagan, wearing sunglasses and a hat, but unmistakably her. The restraining order Catherine filed was granted immediately, but paper didn't feel like much protection against Reagan's escalating behavior. The next week brought a new development. Reagan's mother, Mrs. Patterson, reached out to Catherine. She wanted to meet, to apologize, to understand what had truly transpired. We met at a neutral location, a quiet restaurant downtown. Mrs. Patterson looked older than I remembered, worn down by recent events. "I believed her," she said, tears in her eyes. "My own daughter, and I believed every lie, even when things didn't add up. I made excuses." She pulled out her phone, showing us text messages from Reagan, demands for money, threats when refused, accusations that everyone had turned against her. "She needs help," Mrs. Patterson stated, "but she won't accept it. She's convinced everyone else is the problem." "What about Lily?" Catherine asked. "Do you want to see her?" Mrs. Patterson nodded eagerly. "If she'll have me. I understand if she doesn't trust me. I failed her when she needed family most." We arranged a meeting at Catherine's house. Lily was nervous, but agreed. The reunion was tentative at first, but when Mrs. Patterson apologized, truly apologized, taking responsibility for not seeing the truth, something shifted. "I should have known," Mrs. Patterson said. "The way Reagan talked about you, even as a baby, like you were a possession, not a person. I thought it was just new mother intensity." Lily listened, processing. "I used to think it was my fault, that if I was a better daughter, she would love me the way other mothers love their children." "Oh, sweetheart," Mrs. Patterson pulled her into an embrace. "None of this was ever your fault." Progress came slowly. Lily started therapy. Catherine enrolled her in a new school for a fresh start. Emma remained her steadfast companion, their friendship stronger for having weathered the storm. Reagan's harassment continued but became less direct. Fabricated social media accounts spreading falsehoods, anonymous letters to Catherine's employer, complaints filed with various agencies. All dismissed, but time-consuming to address. Then came the final custody hearing, 3 months after that night at the cabin. We were back in court. Reagan had a new lawyer again, her fourth. She had lost weight, Her designer clothes replaced with conservative suits intended to project stability. The courtroom was packed again. This time, the evidence was overwhelming. Lily's therapist testified about the emotional abuse. Teachers described the change in Lily since leaving Reagan's care. Miss Rodriguez presented her investigation findings. When Lily herself took the stand, the courtroom was silent. She spoke clearly, describing years of manipulation, control, and emotional neglect. She talked about the vacation, the hospital, the isolation that followed. "I love my mom," Lily said, looking directly at Reagan, "but I'm scared of her. She doesn't see me as a person, just something she owns." Reagan's mask slipped for just a moment. Rage flashed across her face before her lawyer touched her arm, reminding her the judge was watching. The judge's decision was swift: permanent custody to Catherine, supervised visitation only if Reagan completed therapy and parenting classes, a permanent restraining order protecting Lily, Catherine, Emma, and me. Reagan stood up slowly. "This isn't over," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Her lawyer grabbed her arm, but she shook him off, walking out with her head held high. But I saw her hands trembling. Outside the courthouse, our group celebrated quietly. Lily hugged everyone, tears streaming down her face, but they were tears of relief. "Is it truly over?" she asked. Catherine kissed her forehead. "The legal part is. The healing part, that's just beginning." 6 months later, life had found a new rhythm. Lily thrived at her new school, her art gaining recognition. Emma and she remained inseparable. Catherine had become the maternal figure Lily always deserved. Reagan had vanished after the final hearing. Some said she had moved out of state. Others claimed she was still around, watching, waiting. Her social media remained dark. I still checked my rearview mirror more than necessary, still felt my heart race when unknown numbers called. The trauma of those months didn't simply dissipate with a court order. But watching Lily laugh with Emma, seeing her confidence grow, making plans for college, it had all been worth it. She had survived. We all had. The last time I saw Reagan was at a grocery store, almost a year after everything began. She was thinner, her hair different, but I recognized her instantly. Our eyes met across the produce section. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she turned and walked away, leaving her half-filled cart behind. I stood there, shaking, waiting for a confrontation that never materialized. When I finally reached my car, I called Catherine. "She's still here," I said. "I know," Catherine replied. "Lily saw her outside the art supply store last week, just watching." "What do we do?" "We keep living, keep protecting Lily, keep documenting everything." Catherine paused. She lost, but people like Reagan don't accept defeat. They just wait for another opportunity. It wasn't the closure I had desired. No neat ending where Reagan received help and became the mother Lily deserved. No reconciliation or growth. Just an uneasy truce, always vigilant for the next move. But Lily was safe, loved, free to be herself without fear of her mother's reaction. She had Catherine, her grandmother, Emma, and me, a real family, chosen and fought for. Some nights, I still dream about that hospital room, about Reagan choosing the beach over her struggling daughter. I awaken angry all over again. But then I recall Lily's art show last month, how she beamed with pride, surrounded by people who genuinely loved her. Reagan had attempted to destroy everyone who challenged her. She had wielded lawsuits and falsehoods like weapons, transformed systems meant to protect children into instruments of control. She had very nearly triumphed. But love, real love, not the possessive obsession Reagan called love, was stronger. It compelled us to fight when surrendering would have been simpler. It united strangers like Jessica and family like Catherine. It gave Lily the courage to voice her truth. The conflict might not be over. Reagan might still be out there, planning her next move. But for now, Lily was healing, living, thriving, and that was victory.